Hey everybody, it is Wednesday, and if it is Wednesday, it is time for Story Time with Taffy, episode number 9. Our little baby's almost into double-digit episodes. What do you know about that? Special thanks in the background to the gameplay from Crooked Rain, little Black Ops sharpshooter. Crooked Rain, the only name you need to know when you need the Onage Pranks voice. Thank you, Crooked. Delicious. Before we get going today, I just want to talk a little PA. Got an email today from the Downbeat Keys, and as I'm talking to you, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up. I want to thank the PA Army because you guys make it possible for us to bring you music that you like to hear and may or may not have heard of. We go to these musicians and we tell them we have voracious followers who will go and comment and click and like and subscribe and purchase music if you just let us use it for free so that we don't have to take all of our profits and sink it into royalties for super cool music for you to listen to. And these people, on a leap of good faith, agree to this based on the fact that you guys, the PA Army, will deliver, and you always do, and you have in a big way this time. The Downbeat Keys sent me an email, and a chunk of it says, Ryan, our minds were totally blown by the response to the video. We have had dozens of high-profile blog posts, radio interviews, opening gigs, and newspaper/magazine articles, but the response to the PA video was far and away better than any piece of publicity we've ever gotten. We saw a huge spike in Facebook likes, Twitter followers, album downloads, album sales, and YouTube subscribers, views, and comments. When you first hit us up, I never dreamed that it would benefit us so much. Thanks a lot. So that, guys, is a shout out to you for basically going out and doing what you would do anyway, but it benefits us in a huge way when you go to guys like Matlock, E-Double, Hoodie Allen, Downbeat Keys, Cam Meekins, DJ Odgebox. These guys all let us use their music in exchange for absolutely nothing but the promise that we may or may not send them some sort of business. And without that business, we don't get to do things like open up the Mr. Wiffles channel and hopefully set up merchandise for you. We are in talks with the great Evan Eckerd, a brand specialist for websites like ours. He did the YouTube page for Justra, Dunkus, Bendro, Onslaught, Cnanner, Sandy Ravage. This guy has worked for a lot of high quality folks, and he is interested in trying to help us at the very least spitball a brand image for the Mr. Wiffles channel so that you guys see it and you go, holy shit, that must be Mr. Wiffles approved because look at the way it looks. But I digress. This is not a commentary. This is not an update on the channel so much as it is a story time with Taffy, episode number 9. And this week's episode comes to you from The Enjoy 101 and Ninjasaurus 41, whom I may or may not have accidentally trolled when he was not in fact being a douche, so for that, I apologize. But instead, I have picked y'all's suggestion, and basically, the paraphrased version of it is, Taffy, tell us a ghost story. So I'll do just that. I'll jump into it by saying I don't believe in ghosts. I would really like to, in much the same way I'd like to believe in Santa, but that doesn't make them any less interesting to me. I really enjoy Halloween. It's my favorite holiday out of the year. The fact that adults can take one day out of the year and dress up as their favorite superheroes or their favorite movie characters or their favorite people from literature or whatever is just kind of cool. One year, while I was at Boise State living in the honors dorm with a handful of friends, we were bored, we were under 21, we didn't have a party to go to because we were the nerdy, intelligent children, so we decided to create our own fun, and what we did was we grabbed ourselves a Ouija board, and we headed up to a turn-of-the-century Civil War cemetery in the foothills that was technically on National Guard property, but on Halloween night, we went up there anyway, praying not to get caught. We took the Ouija board and a handful of friends, and we went up to the cemetery, and we drove up this windy road and up to the front gate of this creaky, nasty, Edgar Allan Poe-looking cemetery. We sat the Ouija board down in front of the front gate and decided, let's see what happens. We'll be sort of scientifically objective about it. Roger is like part Vulcan. He feels no emotions. He works in the Secret Service now. Like, he's a very solid guy, and I don't think he believes in ghosts either, but it was the time of year to get into that kind of stuff. So, we sit down outside of this gate, and we decide to do it outside the cemetery. So we sit down with a handful of people, and we put our hands on the little pointer, and we ask a couple of questions, and there's nothing. And surprisingly, of the 7 people we took up, 3 people wanted nothing to do with this, so they just sat and watched. The 4 of us took this Ouija board inside the cemetery, leaving 3 people who literally wouldn't walk inside the gate, put our hands on the pointer, and this thing starts to fly. So we're asking it all sorts of, I don't mean like fly like flew above the board, that would be crazy talk, but fly as in moving around the board. Now, just for clarification, I don't think a Ouija board is a tool of the devil. I don't know of many tools of the devil that are sold by Parker Brothers at Toys R Us. That said, I think it's a psychological collection of people who subconsciously move the pointer and freak themselves out. Doesn't make it any less fun on Halloween to be inside a cemetery pretending like you're talking to the dead. So we're asking it some questions. Anyone here? Yes. How many? 1. Ask for a name. It spells out Stuart. From here on out, to sort of truncate the story, we're asking it questions, and as we're asking it questions, the answers are becoming more and more malicious. We're getting more and more angry responses, and then finally I get vocal, if you can believe that, and pipe up and say, well, what do you want? And it spells out for 3 out to come in. And of course, we have the 3 people standing outside the gate, and at that point, they freak out. They run down to the cars and drive, or are getting ready to drive off and leave us there with no transportation. So we grab everything up out of the cemetery, load it into a box, drive back to Boise State, and if the night ended there, it would have been a fun story. It didn't end there because a handful of people heard us instantly start to retell this story, so we end up regrouping, driving back up to the cemetery with like 14 people, 9 of which are new. We set the board back down inside the cemetery, and with an entirely new group of people on the board, the conversation picks up as though it never ended. So this time we take an audio recorder, we take a camera, we've got a bunch of people taking it serious, a handful of people who are just goofing around, but it doesn't change the fact we jump right back into this crazy, murderous, die, kill, evil sort of rant of words that are coming off on the board. At one point it said it wanted me on the board. At the time we wrote down a transcript of every question we asked and everything that was said. We were snapping photographs. Now the photographs were the cool thing actually, because my buddy Roger, shooting this on actual film because that's how old I am, asked, where are you? And the pointer turned and pointed between 2 friends of ours, two lady friends of ours who had come out with us. So he snaps the photo really quickly. A couple days later he goes to develop the film. The film's rewinding in the camera and it stops, and he opens it up and the film exposes. It's like it stopped in the middle of the roll for no good reason whatsoever. It exposes itself, he puts it back down and closes it, and then it rewinds itself the rest of the way. We take those pictures to get developed, and the only picture to survive from the cemetery roll is the picture that we snapped of the where are you question, and between, I think her name was Chandra and Jennifer, was this big human-sized shadowy blotch, which is pretty stinking cool. I still think it's a coincidence, and I still think that it's light exposure, but it didn't change the fact that we had a big human-shaped blotch standing where the Ouija board claimed that this guy was standing. So eventually it ran its course, and we wrapped everything up, and we moved out of the cemetery and went back to the university. And we'd had a freaky night of angry quote-unquote spirits on the Ouija board, and just being out in the dead of night in October in a very crisp Idaho foothill cemetery, basically spooking ourselves out. And the only thing that ever got me was that for years, driving out of Boise to go visit my folks back in Jerome, there was a white cross that was hanging out near the outlet malls, and every time I drove out, not being a smartass, not even being disrespectful, but every time I drive out, this cross had a name on it, and I would say the guy's name and be like, hey man, watch over the city for me while I'm gone, I'll catch you on the way back. I talked to it as though I was driving past somebody I knew, because it's a long stretch of road, and you do weird things to entertain yourself, like flip your car. After this happened, a couple days later, I decided I'm going to drive down and visit my folks for the weekend, and as I'm driving out, I see the cross, and I go, hey Stuart, watch over the It's not there anymore. It hasn't been ever since a big snow came, and I think one of the street sweepers swept the little white roadside cross away. That is the story of my experience with Stuart, the ghost that haunts the Foothills Cemetery. I hope I didn't disturb you too completely with my tales of horror. Fun. It was creepy. I got tons of ghost stories for a guy who doesn't believe in ghosts, but they're incredibly fun to tell. So we'll try to sprinkle them and maybe do a best of rapid fire ghost story Halloween. God willing, we'll still be making videos next Halloween, and we'll put something together then. So guys, that is it. Episode 9 in the books. In the comment section below, leave your comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, favorite kind of candy bar, and best hangover cure, because God knows I'll probably need one as soon as my grad school application is sent in. On behalf of the Mr. Wiffles channel, this is Taffy, and I am out.